Hi, this is Northcliff High School Maths Lit Paper 2 for 2019. It's put together by John Becking. So let's get right into it. Our scenario. The Smith family, Mr., Mrs. and their daughter, which is 10 years old, are planning a trip to the Kruger National Park. It will be during the December holidays this year. The Kruger Park is situated in the northeast of our country. Let's get into question 1. The first thing the family needs to do is put together a budget for their trip. Here is a basic one that they have prepared with income and expenses. So let's look at 1.1. The Smith car uses 13 litres per 100 kilometres. The family estimates that they will travel 1,400 kilometres. How many litres of petrol will they use? So we start off with our 13. Now it's per 100 kilometers, so then we divide by 100. Now we want to travel 1,400 kilometers, and so therefore we multiply by 1,400. This gives us a total of 182 liters. Next question, 1.2. Name an expense the Smiths have not thought of. Well, if we look at our expenses, it's petrol, entrance, accommodation and food. So let's think about it. We can have toll gate, presents for friends and family, extra activities like hikes and game drives, and anything else that you could think of that was valid would get you your mark. Let's look at the next question. For this question, we're going to use the first appendix at the back, Appendix A. And this is what it looks like. It's got accommodation tariffs for the Crocodile Bridge Rest Camp. So let's use this. Question 1.3.1. If the Smiths were planning to start their stay with 3 nights at Crocodile Bridge Rest Camp during December holidays this year, how much would it cost them to stay in bungalow BD2Z? So let's have a look at the accommodation tariffs. The first thing is that the dates that we're looking at is for December, and it's these two. The second thing is that the prices are the same during all of December. And then of course they have an extra child, and so this is something we also have to consider. And so let's put these numbers together and work it out. Here is the question again. So we start off with 1,660, which is the cost of the chalet. Then it's times 3 because it's for 3 nights, which gives us 4,980. Then we have to remember their extra child, which is 140 Rand a night. We multiply that 3 for the 3 nights and then get 420. Finally, we add them together to get our final cost of 5,400 Rand for the accommodation. Our next question, 1.3.2. Give a valid reason for the first option being cheaper than the rest. Well, there's many different options. You could say inflation, also it might be out of prime season. Again, any relevant answer would get you your mark. Question 1.4. The Smiths' next planned stop is Lower Sabi. They are planning to spend 4 nights at the total cost of 7,200 Rand. When staying in the Lower Sabi region, you have the best chance of seeing a leopard. The average leopard weighs only 59 kilograms, but kills prey that is 3 times larger. If 1 kilogram equals 2.2 pounds, calculate the weight in pounds of the prey the leopard can kill. The leopard weighs 59 kilograms. It can kill a prey that's 3 times larger, so multiply by 3. And then 1 kilogram equals 2.2 pounds, and so we multiply it by 2.2. That gives us a total weight of 384.4 pounds. Question 1.5. For their last few days, the family are going to stay at Punta Maria. This is the northernmost camp in the game reserve. The Smiths find a website giving information on the campsite. The website says that the temperatures can range from 41 degrees Fahrenheit to 96 degrees Fahrenheit. 1.5.1. Name a country that this website was aimed at and give a reason for your answer. Well, it's the USA because the website uses degrees Fahrenheit. 1.5.2. Given that degrees C equals degrees F minus 32 times 5/9, would we consider the maximum temperature as hot? Use calculations to explain your answer. So let's have a look. Yes, we would think it is hot. Now the reason is as follows. Here is our formula, and now we know that the maximum is 96, and so we substitute 96 into our formula. Once we've done that, we then type it into our calculator and get our answer of 35,56 degrees Celsius. That is quite hot. And that's the end of question 1. Next we move on to question 2. The Smiths realize that 10,000 Rand that they have for the trip is not enough, so they decide to do a number of things to increase their available money. 2.1. The first thing they decide is to invest the money to earn some interest. They investigate 2 different banks, AAA Bank and BBB Bank. AAA Bank offers a 1.6% per month interest rate that is compounded monthly. Calculate the amount that you would have if they invested 10,000 Rand for 2 months. Let's have a look. Month 1. 10,000 times 1.6%, and that gives us 160 Rand. Which means that at the end of month 1, we have 10,160. Month 2. We start off with our 10,160. We then multiply it by 1.6%, and we get our answer of 162 Rand and 56 cents. We then add the 2 and get our final amount of 10,322 Rand and 56 cents. 2.1.2. BBB Bank offers a simple interest rate of 1.9% per month. Show with calculations which is the best bank to bank with if you invest your money for 2 months. Let's have a look. We've already got AAA Bank. Now let's work out for BBB. We start off with our 10,000. We find out what 1.9% of it is by multiplying by 1.9, 190. Now, it is for 2 months and it's simple interest, so we just multiply it by 2 and we get 380 Rand. If we add the 10,000 and the 380, we get a total of 10,380. AAA Bank from 2.1.1 gives us a final total of 10,322 and 56 cents. BBB Bank gives us 10,380. And so BBB Bank is better because you get more interest. 2.2. The Smiths realize that the interest from their savings will not be enough, so they decide to start a business on the side making vetkut or ngwenias. Let's see Appendix B for the recipe. Here it is. We'll be using this as we go. 2.2.1. Convert the weight of the flour to kilograms. Let's go and have a look. Here is our recipe. It's 500 grams of flour, and we need to make that kilograms. This is how we do it. We take 500, we're converting from grams to kilograms, so we divide by 1,000, which gives us 0.5 kilograms. 2.2.2. Convert the preparation time into seconds. Let's have a look at our recipe. Prep time, it says, is 80 minutes. Let's use that. So we know it's 80 minutes, and we're taking that into seconds, and so we multiply by 60. That gives us a total of 4,800 seconds. 2.2.3. If a 2.5 kilogram bag of flour costs $48.99, calculate the cost per recipe for the flour. So we take our 2.5 kilograms, we divide it by 0.5 kilograms, which we've just worked out in the previous question, and that will give us 5. Now we take that 5 and we divide it into 48.99, which will give us 9 Rand 80. So out of that bag that costs 48 Rand 99, we will only need 9 Rand 80 of it. 2.2.4. If the cost of the ingredients per batch is 35 and the fixed cost totals 150, write an equation for the total cost for all their business. Let's have a look. Our expenses, which what they want, our total cost, equals our 150, which is our fixed cost, plus 35 multiplied by the number of batches. That's our equation. Our fixed cost plus our cost per batch multiplied by the number of batches. 2.2.5. Given the equation income equals 55 Rand times number of batches, calculate the percentage profit the Smiths make per batch when excluding their fixed costs. Let's have a look. Now, our equation when we ever have to work out a percentage profit is the difference between the income and the expense over the expense multiplied by 100. Let's put numbers there. That's 55 minus 35, that's the difference, over my expense, which is 35, multiplied by 100%, which gives us 57.14%. 2.2.6. Using the equations from 2.2.4 and 2.2.5, complete the graphs. Let's get our graph paper there. The first thing we need in our graph paper is our heading, and so we've got income versus expenditure for Magwenias. Next, we have our cost and our numbers sold, and we are going to start off with our income graph. So if I sell no batches, 55 times 0 is 0, and so I start at 0, 0. If I sell one batch, I make 1 times 55, which is 55. Now your income graph is always a straight line, and so to make life easier, if I sell 10 batches, I make 550 Rand. What I do now is draw in them and put an arrow afterwards, because 11, 12, 15, 20, you don't know how many batches you are going to sell. Next is the expenses graph. Expenses equal 150 plus 35 times the number of batches. So if I sell no batches, it's still 150 plus 0, and so I plot my 150. If I sell one batch, it's 150 plus 35 times 1, which gives me 185. Again, it's a straight line, so I go all the way to 10 batches. If I sell 10 batches, it's 150 plus 35 times 10, which is 500. I then join my dots. I make sure I have an arrow on it, and then I have drawn my expense graph. And so back to our question paper 2.2.7. Explain what a break-even point is and why it's important. A break-even point, the amount of income that a business must make to cover all of the costs involved in running the business. Gives an idea of how many you need to sell in order to make money. 2.2.8. If they sold 5 batches, is this good? Explain. Well, it's not good. To work this out, we need our income and expense equations that we've just drawn graphs for. Expenses. If we sold 5 batches, it would cost us 150 plus 35 times 5, which is 325 Rand. For our income, it would be 55 times 5, which gives us 275. That means that we make a loss of 50 Rand. Definitely not good. And thus we are finished question 2 and move on to question 3. 3.1. All the guests are charged extra for the water they use during their stay. The tariff system that is used is shown below. We have 5 different levels, the quantity of water per chalet, and the formula to work out how much they're going to pay. So let's have a look at our questions. 3.1.1. If the Smith family had to use 630 litres of water during their stay, how much would they pay for the water that they used? So let's go and have a look at our table. Well, they would use between 600 and 700 litres. And so the formula is 50 plus 0.7 Rand per litre. Let's use this formula. For the first 600 litres, they would use 50 Rand. Then, the remaining 30 we'd have to do a little bit of multiplying for. 30 times the 0.7, which we get from the table, gives us 21 Rand. So therefore, in total, they would pay an extra 71 Rand to use 630 litres of water. 3.1.2. In the table, show how the amount 215 Rand was calculated in level 5. Let's have a look at our table. Now they want to know how the 215 Rand there was calculated. To do this, we have to work with level 4 to get to level 5, and so we need to take this one and work with that. Let's write it down. So, for the first 700 litres, our formula says it costs 120 Rand. For the next 100 litres, it then would cost 100 times 0.95, which gives us 95 Rand. That would make 800 litres, and the cost would then be 215, which is where they get the 215 in level 5 from. 3.1.3. If you had to graph the costs per litre versus the number of litres used, what type of graph would it be? It would be a step graph. 3.2. The rangers that work in the game reserve have installed water tanks to help with the water shortage. Each chalet has a flat roof that is rectangular in shape with dimensions of 6.5 meters by 5.5 meters. Calculate the surface area of the roof in centimeters squared. Well, the first thing we're going to do is convert the meters to centimeters. So, 6.5 meters times 100 gives us 6,500 centimeters. To go from meters to centimeters, you multiply it by 100. Likewise, 5.5 meters times by 100 gives you 5,500 centimeters. Now, let's calculate the surface area. The total area is length times breadth. which in this case is 6,500 times 5,500, which gives us a total area of 357,500 centimeters squared. 3.2.2. The ranger's house has a roof surface area of 1,060,000 centimeters squared. If they receive 1,5 centimeters in height of rain, how many centimeters cubed will collect in his rainwater tank? And so we have to take our surface area and multiply it by the height. Let's have a look. That would mean that we have 1,060,000 times 1,5, which would give us 1,590,000 centimeters cubed. And that's the end of question 3. Now we move on to question 4. And for this we use Appendix C, and that's a map of Punta Maria. Let's look at the questions. Question 4.1. All the chalets are situated on the right-hand side of the map. If each one can hold 4 people, can they accommodate 100 people in the chalets? Show your working to substantiate your answer. So what we're going to have to do is go back to the map and count the number of chalets. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 at the bottom, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22 chalets in our Punta Maria camp. Let's use this number. So we have 22 multiplied by 4, because there's 4 people in each chalet, which gives us 88. So that's how many people can be accommodated. The question said, can they accommodate 100? And if they did arrive with 100, they would be 12 short. Therefore, no, the accommodation can only hold 88, so there would be 12 people without accommodation. 4.2. The Smiths go on a walk marked on the map. It takes them approximately 50 minutes to complete the 2,5 walk. How fast in kilometers per hour were they walking? Now they've given you all the information in the question. We don't even have to look at the map. But let's work through this. The first thing they ask is it kilometers per hour. So they've given it to us in minutes and kilometers, which means we have to change the minutes to hours. Let's do that. 50 minutes into hours will give us 0,83 hours. 50 minutes divided by 60 changes it into hours. Then our speed is distance over time. Our distance they give us is 2,5. Our time we've worked out is 0,83, and so that means that they are walking at 3,01 kilometers per hour. Question 4.3. If the ranger's house is the largest building on the map, give instructions for the Smiths to get from the main gate to her house. Include buildings and roads that you may pass. Let's have a look. Here we have our map. That's the beginning and that's the end. Now we have to go from one to the other, and there are lots of different bits of information we have to include. So firstly, we go past a road immediately to your left. We carry on straight past a petrol station on your left, and then a path on your right. We carry on going past another 2 roads that meet on your left, continue on to another road on your right, follow the road, and the chalets will be on your right. Continue and you'll see an ablution block, a kitchen, and a washing area on your left hand side. Next you'll see a road on your right and then a parking area on your right. Turn left at the next road and follow it until you get to the house. And that's the end of the paper. I hope this video has been helpful. Please like, share, tell everybody about this so that my channel can grow. Thank you very much. Good luck.